Welcome back, everybody, to Them Dragons, though, the official Game of Thrones podcast for Grind City Geek. My name is Duncan, and you guys also should know Will.
How you doing, everybody?
And G-Daddy, Garrett Davidson.
I like nicknames. Fantastic.
Hopefully you guys checked out the last episode of the podcast where we went over episode 1 of season 7, Dragonstone. And so we're just gonna jump right into episode 2. I almost forgot Stormborn. I want to keep my dyslexia I keep wanting to call it Stormborn. Episode 2 of season 7. So I guess just real quick initial thoughts. Like, what did we think of the episode, gentlemen?
It definitely was born during a storm. There's a lot of rain.
Dude, I just made that correlation.
I did right before I said that. I was like, Stormborn. Why was that important? Because there's dragon. Oh, the storm.
Oh, I thought
and they literally talked about it right at the beginning too.
I thought Aurora Monroe would show up.
Well, I mean, that's what they call Daenerys too. She's Daenerys Stormborn because they reference it like she was born on a night just like that.
Yeah. I guess I should probably fill people in who are listening for the first time. Okay, so you guys have watched every season of Game of Thrones multiple times.
Correct.
Yeah.
And I am what some people would call a noob to the series. Basically, the only reason why I'm here is not for legitimacy, because I have none. It is because I'm here for all of those people who are like, well, I don't watch Game of Thrones because it's already so far into the series, and I just it's just too much. So I'm just jumping in with both feet into season 7. I've only ever watched this is the 4th episode of Game of Thrones I've ever watched. After I watched the first 2 episodes of the first season, and then last week's episode 1 of season 7, and now episode 2. So, but, with that said, I want to say that I kind of feel like this season has been a good one to, start off on, because it really hasn't, it's been slow enough. It's been at a certain pace to where I've kind of been able to be like, okay, so what's his deal again? What's her deal again? What's her name again? And it's not it's not moving at such a pace to where I can actually keep up.
It's not overwhelming you.
Yeah.
I don't feel like because you can ask questions and kind of see exactly who's who, and the beauty of HBO is you can pause and we can kind of talk about things.
That's true, yeah,
and go over it. So
right, exactly. And I'm like, so what happened to that person in season 4? And you're like, oh well, they got engaged to their sister, and
where's his hand?
Exactly, Mr. Goldhand.
So anyways, season 2 of episode 7, we'll just jump right into it. We open up on Dragonstone, where we meet Daenerys Targaryen.
Targaryen.
This is awful. Khaleesi.
There you go.
Khaleesi.
The Khaleesi's.
She. We closed on her from the last episode, and that was the cooler moments from that first episode where she's just like, "Shall we?" What did she say? "Shall we begin?"
Yep.
And we open up with her and
Tyrion,
right,
Grey Worm, and Viserys.
right,
Yes.
and they're
Is that right? Is that his name?
Varys.
Varys,
the eunuch.
Yeah, I'm thinking of her brother Viserys.
and
It's all right. He's not a pervert.
Tyrion, he's going over he comes up with a plan for how they're going to overthrow Khaleesi, and he kind of goes through his plan. I don't think everyone agrees with him there at the beginning, but from what I understand of the character, he's good at that sort of thing. He's sort of the plan guy.
He definitely does have a plan.
Was that King's Landing where he had that one battle?
Yeah, that's where the Hound had that PTSD, and Joffrey was like, "I'm staying behind the wall," and that was when Stannis tried to take over King's Landing. But he kind of fortified everything, and he came up with the Dragon's Fire to thwart everyone. He does have a mind for it, which you kind of don't think of. He's a great schemer, like he really is, and he's so smart. I think that's why he's probably one of the fan favorites, because he's relatable enough, because he gets crapped on all the time for his appearance, and he basically kind of runs things.
He's the uncreepy Littlefinger and more successful Lord Baelish.
Oh, absolutely. No, Peter Bailey.
Because he's a schemer and conniver as well. But you said Stannis. Like, what you need to go back, Duncan, and research Stannis. No one talks about him. He's one of the worst people in the show. And it's like two things in particular. I'm not gonna spoil it for you. But really awful guy on his way to become king and sitting in the Iron Throne. Awful guy.
In his quest to become that. Yeah, he never actually gets there, but
yeah, he doesn't. Well, obviously.
Right. So, I mean, what do we think about the plan?
I think the biggest thing I took away from the opening scene was Daenerys and Varys' conversation.
Yeah.
And last week, Will had kind of talked about how Varys is probably the only person who cares about the people. And
Varys is the bald-headed.
He's the bald-headed
guy, right?
Mm-hmm. And he
Uncle Fester.
very similar. But he talks about he doesn't care about following a king or queen, but he's what's going to do best for what's best for the people. Yeah. And Will actually hit that nail on the head last week, and he actually said that. But you see the arc of Daenerys like come to fruition from being this little girl sold into slavery basically to become a wife, like betrothed to Khal Drogo, and getting her dragons and becoming Khaleesi, and just going from Marine and setting all the slaves free, breaker of chains. That's one of her other titles she has. But now she like confronts Varys like straight up and says like, what is gonna happen when you were under my father, correct? And he's like, I was. And you also served under Robert Baratheon, who killed her father, basically, or had Jaime do it. And he's like, I was. And he goes, she's questioning
his loyalty.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's refreshing to see this side of Khaleesi, because you start seeing it and you're kind of like, oh, this is kind of annoying. Why is she being like this? But now I'm like, okay, I could actually see this working now. And so that was the most powerful thing for me. And Varys kind of took it and gave it right back. Like he didn't cower, and he wasn't like, oh, your grace and stuff. He's like, no, I'm going to shoot you the
chop
truth.
my head off if you just want blind loyalty.
Yeah, exactly. That's what he said. You can have Grey Worm behead me, or your dragons devour me, but I'm who I am. Like this is me, and I have my spies, my little birds, and she knows about them as well. But
yeah,
it was powerful for me.
Yeah, because he goes into like how he talks about like him growing up, like he was. And he says that he was sold into slavery as a child, so he kind of grew up on the streets and then sort of worked his way up into the position that he had.
Exactly, and so he's seen the lowest of lows, and like what people in King's Landing deal with on the daily. We don't get to see a lot of that, thank goodness, because who would want to watch a show about that? But
spin-off.
Yeah, right. But it was. I love Varys. He controls the screen when he's on it. And him and Daenerys having their conversation was just, I mean, it really you're like, okay, now I can kind of see where we're going. And Varys never actually says what he said until last night's episode. And so, but it the whole time, but he never actually come out and said like, I'm for the people. I don't care about the king. I don't care about the queen. Yeah. I'm what's best for the people.
Well, his life was on the line. And I think Tyrion knew his life was on the line because he kept trying to butt in, and she was just like, shut up. Like she would give him the look, like and keep talking over him, and you can't overtalk the queen, especially with Grey Worm right there. Like I don't care about you, little man. And it was just, you're right. That was probably one of my favorite parts of the show. And I mentioned to you guys probably off air. He has the best dialogue. I think Varys.
Oh, okay.
And when he and Tyrion are together, the dialogue is good. This is not one of those times.
Tyrion has some of the best. Like I could sit and just listen to Dinklage talk all. Like he's got like not only is his voice like really cool, but he just he seems that he has some of the better dialogue in the show.
Yeah.
Going down a rabbit hole here. That's probably why Bungie got Peter Dinklage to be the voice of the Ghost in Destiny.
In Destiny early
Destiny
on.
1 before the
he's done a lot of voice work.
And so the only reason they actually they parted ways was because of scheduling conflicts with Game of Thrones. And so people were like,
they'll be linking up again.
Yeah. But it was
That's cool.
So speaking of Tyrion, he vouches for Jon Snow, which is obviously sort of bringing together sort of like the different aspects of the show. Like you realize that at some point they're going to meet. Like at some point they're going to have to join forces, and do Khaleesi and Jon Snow know each other? Have they ever met before?
No.
See, that's I was thinking about that during watching the episode. Is like it's crazy that you've got main characters from this show who have never even met each other. That's wild to me.
Well, she's been like, there's been like is it a sea?
Yeah, the narrow sea.
There's been a sea separating them the whole season until now.
Right.
I basically gave Duncan.
You were trying to give me a little bit of the geography
if we did a geography and we had a map of the United States, the kind of the way that the layout would be is the north and Winterfell is Canada, where Khaleesi or Daenerys was originally and where the Dothraki are is Australia. So that's like the distance we're like kind of looking at here. And so it's the narrow sea, so it's not, the Atlantic Ocean or anything like that, but it's a good way. And like, they can't just get on a plane and fly to each other. I mean, she can get on a dragon. I mean, I'm sure
that's still a long flight.
You had to stop for a while, but no, it is. I think people have been waiting for these two to actually meet because everyone else has either seen or been close enough to, or seen, wreckage from a battle that someone else has. And in Westeros, you have King's Landing in the south, and everything else is basically north.
Don't you think it's so weird how different now that they're going to see each other? Because I think for the first 3-4 seasons, they're going to hook up fire and ice. They're going to hook up fire and ice.
I don't know if that's going to happen, but
it'd be less creepy than Cersei and Jaime. Still frowned upon, I think, in modern society. And,
I still think the only person that knows that Jon is
Bran.
Targaryen is Bran.
Yeah.
So, it could happen, but then you're like, oh no, Jon, don't do it.
Or he pops up like right after they seal the deal. Bran wakes up. No.
He's warging. He's like, hang on. And you're like, yeah, that'd be actually pretty great.
So we move on from there, and our old buddy Grey Worm finally
gives up the gummy worm.
That's later.
He finally. Well, no, that's what I'm saying. He finally he
seals the deal.
He seals the deal with even though he does not have the proper equipment for such a task.
I don't know. She seemed pretty happy with what he was doing.
Yeah. Well, he's a good-looking man. So
he's a great fighter too.
she's not too bad herself. So so that was my first introduction to that kind of scene and
the nudity.
Yeah, to this kind of show.
That was your first introduction?
Well, no. I mean, like,
you gotta think he's only seen 4 episodes.
Yeah, and I knew it was just a matter of time. But no, I just
no way. Episode 1, Tyrion has like 15 prostitutes in the bed with him.
He hasn't seen season 1, episode 1.
You haven't? Oh, you've only seen the Mountain and the Viper.
I've seen the first episode.
You have?
Yeah, I watched the first 2 episodes of the first season. I must be for it, that was like 2 or 3 years.
Well, you're
ago,
not a perv, so you're not just
I don't dwell on it.
I've seen that episode a few times, going back through. It's not like I have it saved.
No, but I thought that was. I know what you've said about Grey Worm and how he does not have the proper equipment for something like that. But he makes it work.
Testosterone booster.
He makes it work with his little chicken nugget. I just don't like. I can imagine that's what it looks like.
I don't want to imagine.
All right, so moving on.
Because Game of Thrones might show it to you, and I'm like, no, thank you.
I was so afraid that they were going to show it, and I was like, oh God, please don't.
I'd rather see Ed Sheeran again.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm okay with
that. Was a good one. So from Dragonstone, we move into Old Town, where we get a look at Jorah with the.
I do want to back to Dragonstone.
Oh yeah, sorry.
So Melisandre, the Red Witch, is actually at Dragonstone, and she's talking about.
Is she the dark complected woman with the curly hair?
No, she's the red hair.
That's Grey Worm's girlfriend.
No. I'm talking about. Never mind. Continue.
But she speaks to Khaleesi the first time, and she's talked about. That's how actually Daenerys learns about Jon Snow, because she says that around the time that he is the savior that's going to bring peace to the world and
is the
return of the king.
Is she? Are you talking about Olenna?
Melisandre.
Yeah, no, Melisandre.
Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry.
It's okay. You're still new at this.
I'm learning here, folks.
It's a lot of names. But that's when
And some people have no names.
they talk about the prince that's come the prince that's come back to basically save humanity, and it's a prophecy. And Daenerys kind of talks about the Valyrian translation of being a prince, and she kind of says, well, I'm not a prince, so I'm sorry that your words are kind of falling deaf to me. But her handmaiden actually corrects her and says the translation in Valyrian can be prince or princess. So we still don't know who this prince or princess is going to be.
They're keeping it wide open.
Melisandre is saying, it's been Jon Snow, and she said, first she said it was Stannis, and that's why you need to kind of figure out who Stannis is.
To let him, his wife, and his daughter die.
Yeah, and then you go. She said it was Jon Snow, and she kind of backs whoever's winning, I guess.
Whoever she's attracted to at the time.
Yeah, and then now she's in Dragonstone, and she's talking to Daenerys, and putting these thoughts in her head. So I felt like that was actually kind of pivotal, just because she's been everywhere. Like, I'm just wondering how she gets to where she's going.
Well, she's like 150 years old, isn't she? She looks nice, but she takes that little pendant off,
the little necklace, and there's a scene early on in the seasons, Duncan, where she takes off the necklace and she gets into like a bathing tub, and she is old as sin.
Oh wow!
And you're just like, oh, okay.
I had no idea.
I don't know why you disrespected sin like that.
Well, it's old as time.
So yeah, we go back to Old Town, and our old buddy Samwell. I think Samwell might be my favorite character.
Samwell Gamgee, yeah, he's a good guy.
Samwise, yeah. At least he's the character I can relate to the most. At least
I feel like anybody relates to Sam.
Well, and he comes across Jorah, who has the disease that's named after the function on the printer.
Grayscale.
It's funny. I was thinking George Martin, or I call him George Marty for short. He was probably printing off pages, a rough draft, and he was trying to think of a name for this disease. And he was like, should I print this off in black and white or color? Oh, grayscale.
That's how he came up with that?
Yeah, that's exactly how he came up with it. Which, no, actually, like, getting to see grayscale is actually, it's pretty cool. It looks cool, at least. Like, it looks like it would be I know it's probably extremely painful, but it looks like, I don't know, it looks like it would be cool for battle or something, but obviously it kills you. But
yeah, it takes a while to kill you, but what it does is it eats your mind. It makes you go crazy.
Oh,
and so what they do is Jorah kind of hints at it. He's like, so how long do I have? And the Grand Maester's like, well, years.
A great big bushy beard. 5
or 6 years. And then Jorah's like, what about the rest? And he's talking about his mind, and he said 6 months. Yeah. And so what they do, Duncan, is...
Oh, they have months in Westeros?
Yeah.
And years?
Well, winter's finally here, so it means it's by season and stuff. So
I figured they just went by, like, seasons.
So it is going to be a long night once winter sets in.
Or gold doubloons.
They probably do, but...
Or...
Dragonglass.
Saruman or something. I don't know.
Sauron.
But what they do, anyone infected with grayscale, they ship them to Valyria. Which is
that's in space, right?
No.
That's Valerian.
It's a rubbled city where they used to make Valyrian steel swords and things like that, but they leave them there, and that's actually how Jorah got the disease, because he and Tyrion were on a little canoe going through the city, and they were like, we need to get through here in a hurry.
And it's just if you touch somebody that has it,
and then someone grabbed Jorah by the arm, and he had a little spot about the size of a quarter on.
And that was a few seasons ago. You said,
and then now
he could have cut his arm off.
He could have, and the Grand Maester actually says that. He says,
it's Walking Dead rules.
You should have cut your arm off. So, but it's you get to see it. It's
where's Michonne when you need her?
Half his torso, and it's looking pretty rough for him. So
yeah, it's like So Samwell gets it in his head. He's like, he's going to figure out how to cure this thing. Which, like, go Samwell. That's pretty cool. Like, he tells that, once he does finally figure that he can come up with some sort of remedy, he tells Jorah how painful it's going to be, and they have to end up ripping off all the scales on his chest to get it off, which looked extremely painful.
Yeah, well, and then the Grand Maester said, no one's really been cured of this. And then Sam brings up Stannis's daughter, who actually had grayscale, but she was cured of it. And all she had was the side of her face had the grayscale on it.
Yeah, Jorah's pretty far along at this point. It's like half his body.
Well, the Grand Maester said, have you ever tried this in an adult?
Oh, okay.
And so that's kind of where he is. But Sam is like determined. And when Sam gets something in his mind, he completes it. I mean, that's just kind of the way he is. And so he's like, I'm going to help Jorah. And he learns it's Mormont.
What if he's sitting on the Iron Throne by the end of the show?
I would be not happy.
Really?
Yeah, I wouldn't be happy either. Yeah.
He's a nice guy. He has courage, but he's only like 5 levels above Reek. All right, we lost all the listeners. I'm joking, people. I'm joking. That was a joke.
He's great, but he's just not the ruling type.
Yeah, he's not tough enough.
I'm totally joking.
Daenerys would call that the kill order before he would.
Exactly.
But no, we have like what I think is like the best transition of the episode. We go from Samwell pulling the like the scales off of his chest, and it goes right into like that pie. From that meat pie, which at first you're like, what am I looking at? And then you're like, oh, it's just a pie.
Yeah, can never have one again now because I'm gonna think it's grayscale I'm eating. So thanks a lot, Game of Thrones.
And then that's where we meet back up with Sansa and
Arya.
Oh God, I'm sorry. What's the guy's name?
Hot
Pie.
What's his name?
Hot Pie.
Hot Pie. Actually, I couldn't tell if you were saying pot pie or hot pie.
Hot. I guess a little backstory on their relationship. So when
it was a dark night
in season 1, when Ned, her father, is beheaded, Cersei and Joffrey set out to collect all the Stark children so that they cannot get away and they can't leave King's Landing. So what she does is she cuts her hair to make her look like a boy, and she's shipped away.
Yeah.
And
he says she looks like a boy.
Well, he said she doesn't look like a boy anymore.
Exactly. He says
pretty.
He called her pretty.
Oh yeah, okay.
And but they were friends, and they were traveling, and so the inn that Hot Pie's at is where he stays. They actually get away, and there's a huge battle, but we won't go on into that. But Gendry, and who we haven't seen in 4 seasons probably. He's just been rowing on a little boat, so wherever he is, his arms are huge. But we've got Gendry, Hot Pie, and Arya. They all become friends, and Arya kind of gets away, and Hot Pie says, I'm going to stay here. And he makes her a loaf of bread in the shape of a dire wolf. And so they have a good, friendly relationship. And this is the first time they've seen each other probably since that night. So it was actually kind of a nice little scene. And, Hot Pie asks what she's doing. She says, I'm going south because Cersei's queen. And he kind of knows. He knew her list of who she wanted to kill and stuff, and how she wanted to be a sword trainer or a water dancer. And but what happens is Hot Pie's like, well, he's like, why aren't you going north? And she's like, because the Boltons have it. And Hot Pie's like, no, the Boltons are dead.
She had no idea.
She had, yeah. And so
last thing she saw was the red wedding.
Yeah, that's the last thing, and that was probably 3 years ago now, so 3 or 4. I don't really know the time frame on seasons because she's a lot older now, but no, it gave her hope for the first time in forever, I think, because now she knows, Jon is at Winterfell and her sister Sansa is at Winterfell, and so she, instead of going south, she actually looks like she turns north, so that's actually exciting for her, and maybe this little killing spree will be over for just a little bit, because I want to get back to it, but I don't want to rush everything either. So
right. Well, speaking of dire wolf, excuse me, we go into a pretty neat little moment here where she's alone in the woods, and you totally called this when we were watching the episode. You called it, right as soon as everything gets quiet and you start hearing sort of the rustling around, from every side of her. She gets surrounded by wolves, and then sure enough, you see Nymeria again, which she hasn't seen. Is it a male or a female?
It's a girl.
Oh, okay, since she was much younger, and it obviously has moved on with its life. So I feel like maybe it does recognize her. Maybe she does recognize Arya.
She definitely did.
I think so.
But she, at the same time, she's like,
you abandoned me.
Yeah, you've abandoned me, and
love don't live here no more.
I've got my own life now out here amongst the trees.
No, I think absolutely. I do think Nymeria does recognize Arya, and so we haven't seen Nymeria or any other direwolf besides Ghost really since.
I bet
season
you see
one.
her again.
Oh, I do too. Like
Yeah.
Will and I were talking about that off air. That Nymeria is going to come back either end of this season, early next season, and help Arya with something.
Yeah, definitely.
But it's
going to be like Ezekiel's tiger in Walking Dead.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
See, I stopped watching before Ezekiel showed up. I've seen the pictures. He's the guy with the gray dreads.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know there was a tiger.
Yeah.
Now I want to start watching again because it's Negan
That's like by
stuff.
far the best part of Walking Dead right now.
I stopped right after the governor.
It's the only thing that's keeping me engaged.
And what is it? And the cannibal, they escaped from the cannibals.
Right, at Terminus.
Yeah. After they spent like 2 seasons trying to get the Terminus.
Right. So
But this is the second time we've went to Walking Dead on
Well, I have just so much more knowledge about Walking Dead. It's hard for me not to make comparisons. But
It's all right.
no, I thought that was a really cool moment though, and I thought there for a moment that she was going to get her wolf back, but.
Well, I think she does kind of at first, and she sees Nymeria, and she goes up to her, and she's like, "Hey, girl, come here," and stuff like that. But then she says,
"Well, she gets rid of Nymeria in the first place because she knows that Cersei
ordered a hit to kill all direwolves because they're not supposed to be pets.
Oh.
Because what happened was
They can be pets in the north.
Joffrey said that one attacked him, and it actually was Nymeria because Joffrey was dueling with Arya and." Things happen where Cersei's like, they should not be pets and stuff, and she was the queen of
what a butthole
of the Seven Kingdoms, and so what ends up happening though is Sansa's direwolf lady is killed. Ned kills her, and then we see Shaggy Dog with Rickon, and he dies.
Rickon don't zigzag.
And literally, so there's 5 direwolves, season 1, like episode 1. And you're like, man, these are cool. And they're small, but you see them like substantially grow. And so now we only have Ghost and we have Nymeria, but she's the leader of her pack now. And she's not going to leave her pack just to go with Arya. So that's.
But Arya might be able to have Nymeria back with the pack.
Which would be amazing.
In a crucial time.
I hope it happens.
Of course. I don't think they're going to put I think that's kind of a MacGuffin for next season. Not right now.
Fingers crossed on that, because I just everyone had kind of mentioned from season 2 to now that Nymeria is still around because Arya was smart enough to be like, you need to go, and she throws a rock at her and hits her, and then Nymeria runs into the woods and does whatever, and she survived to now, and now she's a full grown direwolf and she's humongous.
Yeah.
And
I'm just waiting for werewolves to show up, man. Professor Lupin.
I hope not.
That was probably one of the worst werewolves. The character was nice, but I didn't like the way he morphed into the werewolf.
Was a cool werewolf.
It was fun.
Yeah.
I like the big ones, nastier teeth, actually, mindless, just bloodlust.
So from there, we jump back to King's Landing, and we find Cersei sort of, what's the guy's name that they find out that they have a weapon that can take care of a dragon.
It's like the chemist or something. I never actually learned his name.
Qyburn? I don't know.
Sounds good to me.
But no, he takes her to what was that, like some sort of dungeon or something where like all the dead dragons are.
Yeah, so they used to be in the throne room. And you see parts of them in season 1, but Robert Baratheon, and she mentions this, she says that it made him feel small, and he was all about appearances, which is her first late husband. And I guess only husband. She's only married that one time. No. But so he threw him down in like the cellar or the dungeon or whatever. And so it's just a bunch of bones and stuff. And we do see the dragon that Rhaegar Targaryen, which is Daenerys' dad, the Mad King, he flew in on and conquered the 7 kingdoms with. He had 3 just like Daenerys does. And so that's why everyone thinks, that they're nervous about the dragons because dragons have been dead for centuries, they say.
Yeah. And whoever has the dragons, really, that's who runs the joint.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I just, we go down there and
Until the Night King.
yeah, I just can't wait for that, man. I really can't. But
Dude, what if the Night King had dragons?
He has giants.
Dead
They're just gonna
dragons.
smack the dragons out of the air.
that would be. I'd love to see a dragon in a giant fight. Like, I hope it happens.
Oh, I'm sure it's coming.
And so, but we see the skull of the dragon that Rhaegar rode in on, and he's long been dead, and they kept the skull and they kept all the bones. Well, then this Qyburn,
Qyburn. Qyburn.
He's actually now the hand of the king, or hand of the queen, rather.
Oh, okay.
And so he takes her down there, and he says that the blacksmiths have been working countless hours, and they developed basically a crossbow.
They watched The Hobbit.
Yeah.
Yeah, basically.
Desolation of Smaug.
Smaug. They watched the third Hobbit movie, and we've got something.
And so for me personally, and I told Will and Duncan both this, and I'm just like, I don't see it, how that's going to
You gotta have something.
be a game changer, though.
It's gonna kill. Guarantee it's gonna kill at least one dragon.
Probably.
It's
Oh
gonna
yeah, we're
ma-
not gonna keep all. I never thought we'd have all three.
Probably just one will make it. The one will die kind of middle way. The other one almost to the end in a heroic fashion. Then the other one will get bloodied and still be fine.
Fingers crossed.
So, and this was a pretty, this episode, it jumped around like it didn't really jump around all that much. There's, we end upon Euron Greyjoy's. His fleet attacks the where I forget her name. Yara. That's right. Yeah, there's sort of like a very Pirates of the Caribbean kind of moment, and which was really cool. And I'm assuming that's got to be the storm that the title refers to. Maybe, I don't know, because it was a storm while it was going on. I don't. That's just my assumption. And we see old Captain Boomerang again, and I just have to make all these wild references just to remember them in my head.
Hey, whatever works, man.
Yeah, I mean, every time you say that, it's like, yeah, I can see it.
Oh yeah.
He looks an awful lot like Jai Courtney. Let's just say that. I thought there for a minute, he was going to kill either his niece or his nephew. And you get to that moment where he is holding her with a blade to her throat, and what's the guy's name?
Theon.
Reek.
You think he's gonna do something, and he just jumped ship. That has to be for a reason.
Literally.
Right.
Well, I think he sees the torturing going on from Euron Greyjoy's men to he and Yara's men, and he sees one guy getting his tongue cut out, and one guy's ears getting cut off, and basically that's what Ramsay did to him. And so he's having like PTSD, and
then the words that triggered it all.
What were the words exactly?
You dickless coward.
Oh yeah, no,
yeah.
And then
Dude.
And he literally he
I
jumped.
feel
ship.
bad for the guys in this show, man. Nobody's got a freaking wiener.
Well, I mean, hey, to each his own, right?
tell that to Tyrion. He's used his the most.
Yes. But no, like I told someone this after the episode today. We were talking about it, and I'm done with Theon Reek. Like I can't be having him like redeem himself and like be like, okay, Theon's back, even though he's never going to be, and then he's back to Reek, and he's a coward and he's scared, and then something will happen again where he redeems himself. And
I think that's like superhuman though. Like I know. I'm not defending him. I'm just playing devil's advocate just for a second. Like the PTSD is extreme. Like he lost the man missile, and and then it gets brought back up while you're seeing people being tortured. And I know you didn't see the episode, but it was awful. It was two nice looking ladies came in while he was tied up, and they started seducing him.
They aroused him, and then that's when Ramsay comes in and.
Yeah, like as soon as he was like at his highest height, oh, you don't need this anymore.
As soon as
and he mails it back to his father.
Dang, with a raven
in a box.
Oh,
so probably with a raven, like a big, maybe like a stork.
Yeah, like he's had a bad
life.
Via
penguin.
Like Theon's not a good person, but he's not the worst person. But you're right, like the ups and downs, and maybe he'll be on the Iron Throne.
God, no, stop. Let's not even
possible.
think that. I'm ready for him to die, basically.
He's not gonna die. You know why he's not gonna die?
He's the type of, just based upon my little knowledge, I gotta think he's gonna have some type of redemption.
He's the Smeagol.
Yeah, I could see that.
Just when you think that he's turned over a new leaf, he'll let you down again. And I think he's gonna gain our trust back again. He's gonna help Khaleesi and do all these different things, and then he's gonna let you down.
I just think that's the storyline. Like I'm kind of just like I'm over it.
She lost all her ships. Like that was a significant portion, and the Dorne army. Yeah. I mean, she took heavy blows. Like we haven't really just sat and talked about strategy wise. Like that was a strategy. All she has is the Thorn lady. What's her family? The older lady.
Tyrell.
Marjorie Tyrell. The Tyrells are the only thing that's left now. The Unsullied and the Dothraki, which is still great. Good thing that they had the Greyjoys to get over the narrow sea.
Well, it's also good that in the beginning of the episode, Tyrion sends the Raven to Jon Snow.
Yeah,
about meeting up. So like that's the Wildling, that's the North.
Yeah.
So we're all looking at taking over King's Landing. So,
but now we know what the gift is.
We do.
We do,
and I was surprised by it, honestly, because I think last week I had said I'm thinking it's Tyrion, but it's actually the
Dorne lady.
I think is her name, something like that. But she's from Dorne, and she killed Cersei's daughter, Marcella.
Yeah,
she poisoned her.
Her daughters went down pretty quickly. Like they were so BA in previous scenes.
Oh,
like, what was it, like 3 seasons ago? They were awesome.
They took Bronn they took Bronn and Jaime to like their ends, and they actually captured both of them. And so you see that, but then also I was reading today, like who brings a whip to a sword fight? You know, that's kind of like it was her own doing. My thing with that scene.
Oh yeah, I was trying to figure out why she was using just a whip.
Well, she was trying to be Selena.
I'm like, you're not.
It's like Catwoman needs casting.
You're not Indy Jones.
Yeah,
lady.
My thing with that whole scene was. Euron Greyjoy talked the talk, and now he's walking the walk. He's the first likable villain. I feel like, for me, like Tywin was my favorite villain for the longest time because he controlled everything.
Yeah.
Now Euron has actually kind of stepped up to the plate, and he's likable and he's maniacal, and like that laugh he does when Theon jumps into the ocean. He's just like, you gotta be kidding me, this dude like. You're supposed to be the savior of your sister, and he's just like, okay, whatever. And he's got the axe to Yara's neck, and
so what do you think the fate is of Liliana? You said, and I can't remember her name.
Oh, her daughter, like one of the
no, the daughters are all dead.
The one daughter was captured because she went down into the brig and
because there's 3 daughters.
There's 3 daughters, and 2 were killed by Euron.
Yeah,
and then the one went down
because he put them on the front of the ship.
He did. He mounted them, which was
pretty nasty.
It was, and he hung one by the whip, and then he had the stakes.
Was it the flirty daughter that
it was?
I knew that they would keep her alive because she's the flirty one in Game of Thrones. But are they going to sell them into slavery?
Just like her mom. Her mom was about to get it on with Yara.
Yeah.
No, I think the daughter will get sold into slavery.
She'll probably be working for Baelish.
Or Cersei will come up some way and murder her and make her see her body.
I don't think that she's going to murder these women.
I think she's going to kill Ileana or Lyanna or what the Sand Snake leader.
That sucks because Dorne has just got dumped on. Like Dorne has 0 victories. Like the Sand people just sucking it up right now.
They really are, the Sand Snakes, and
the Greyjoys, but they're kind of like the Freys. They are POS.
They're so minor compared to the big 4 houses: the Baratheons, the Starks, the Lannisters, and the Targaryens. Everyone else is kind of just like a footnote.
Yeah.
And so
they're throwing poop on people.
They really are. And
shame.
Yeah. No, that was a scene right there, man. But no, like it did surprise me that. And maybe Euron thought that Tyrion was going to be on that ship. Like, I don't know, but he's also the hand of the king, so I'm pretty sure he thought that he would stay at Dragonstone with Khaleesi.
But he has a good military mind because they talked about it. He was the one that led the attack on the Lannister ships.
Yeah.
When they were trying to overthrow him. So I don't know. He's the best Greyjoy thus far.
Oh yeah, like hands down. Like all the other, the original king of the Iron Islands was old and
You're kind of let me
bitter
down.
and
I was
stuff.
expecting more from her
she held her own
fight.
Yeah, she did what she
until
could.
up until Euron, and then Euron just basically overpowered her. And he's like, "Give your uncle a kiss," you know.
Oh,
Stuff
yeah.
like he had good one-liners, and
Yeah.
he was just like, he's maniacal, like I said, and
I like him.
I really like him. Like I hope he stays around for a while.
You asked for it last episode. He's like, he hasn't shown me. I don't know anything about him. And then
Exactly.
boom,
No,
he just
absolutely. I felt like
blossoms.
a lot of people felt that way as well because I read some articles today and they interviewed the actual actor who his name is Icelandic or something like that. I couldn't even pronounce it.
We'll just call him Captain Boomerang.
Okay. And but
CB.
but no, like he gave me something this week, and like I also said this to someone, like in all honesty, we're halfway through this season.
Who'd you say it to? Give me their name.
His name is Mike.
Oh, Mike.
Hashtag Mike.
And I also said this to Kendall. I was just like, so if we go by standard Game of Thrones, we're halfway through the season. Like we have 5 episodes left of this season, so like this would be the midway point. And I think that's why we're seeing Jon and Daenerys possibly meeting so early in the season. It's just because we're pressed for time, and I don't know if anyone was like super. I think everyone's ready for this, but they were like, man, this is going fast, And so at the same time, I think about that. I'm like, dude, we're halfway through this season. Like it just started, and so it's kind of depressing.
You ever notice whenever Jon Snow leaves somewhere that's considered his home? When they left Winterfell, did he leave Winterfell? After he left Winterfell, Bran got pushed out the window, right? Or was it before he left?
It was before he left.
It was before he left. So, like, as he's preparing to leave, Bran got pushed out. As he's preparing to leave, the whole, armada just down the drain. No ships now.
Well, that was my thing, too, is Euron says, like, my niece and my nephew stole my best ships. And, like, he has the
Sets them
worst.
on fire.
He has the worst ships. Well, I mean, his ships did pretty good. I mean, they had that big old claw that came down with the Kraken head and crushed that guy, and he boarded the other ships and stuff. So I really love Euron. Like I'm sold on him. So I hope this season continues for him. And
What's
we'll
funny
see what
now
happens
is
to him.
Cersei doesn't need him.
You don't think so?
What does she need him for now? The Greyjoys are gone, so she's not going to get hit from the sea.
I could see it.
I mean, she needs
I just
allies.
That's my thing. Is I just feel like there's
Because
never a number
he's on
you
his
can't
own.
have.
Because if the kind of person she is, if she cuts him off and doesn't want to ally with him, who's he going to ally with? He can't be trusted. He just murdered and kidnapped his own family and his countrymen, and burned his own ships. So I mean, the Iron Islands are ripe for the taking. So.
Yeah, but they're part of the 7 Kingdoms, though, too. So I mean,
Yeah, but
I feel like allies there's not a number that you can have enough of.
right. But
so-
you can't trust him.
Oh no, and I don't think.
And he's helped out. The Dorne is gone. The Greyjoys are gone. Thank you. Bye.
Yeah, we'll see what his welcome's like
Yeah.
when he comes up to King's Landing
'Cause
and how Cersei actually receives that.
He wants her hand
He does.
in marriage.
He does, and so
And Jaime's not going to like that because he's going to, he's going to seal the deal. He's going to consummate that relationship expeditiously.
I don't know. Like I'm excited to see where Euron goes, and now probably the writers are gonna be like, okay, people liked him, let's kill him off. Like let's just go ahead next week and have the Mountain crush his head too.
I wouldn't be surprised if Jaime kills him
I wouldn't either.
because
Like,
he is the
Good
Kingslayer.
point. Yeah, that's a good one.
I hope he does. Like we haven't seen Jaime in prime form, mainly because the hand's gone. Ever. Like
Yeah.
we've only heard rumors of
Is he the hand of the Queen now?
his gold hand is. I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean that's pretty much it for the episode. I mean, what did we think of the episode overall? And does this change your, ideas for going forward? What does this sort of change anything for what you're predicting, for the rest of the series?
For the series, no, because it's going to take the
there isn't much that happens, all except for that last battle.
Yeah.
You know, everybody's just sort of still just getting ready at this point, preparing.
it's a lot of talk besides Euron, but at the same I mean, Daenerys was talking about sending, the plans of taking over Castle Rock and sending to outside King's Landing, and Daenerys made everybody say like we're not going to attack King's Landing yet, but for the series, it doesn't change anything for me quite yet because
we didn't see any
the White Walkers. We didn't see them at all.
We didn't see any White Walkers. We didn't see the Hound at all.
That actually, so like this episode was a typical episode. Like you don't see everybody.
The first episode, that was sort of an outlier.
They had to show where everyone is.
Yeah.
And so next week we'll probably go the opposite of what we did. So like we'll be at the Wall. We'll see White Walkers. We'll have the Hound. We'll probably go back to King's Landing. And we might see Daenerys and Jon actually meet, but not say a whole lot together. But who knows? I mean, it could be these same families together again and have 2 more episodes devoted for the other families. I don't know, but this season, I don't think anything major is going to happen like I thought it was. I think we're going to kind of get there. Like we're going to get... I told someone, I said that the end of this season, White Walkers break the wall. They're coming down, and you don't see them again until the next season. Like, that's kind of the way Game of Thrones works. Like, there'll be a huge battle or something,
right? And
they leave a huge cliffhanger to whet your palate for next season.
Wet your pants.
Well, can't do that as well.
Just a mild soiling.
But I just feel like that they'll break the wall. They're coming down. They're coming south, and everything's still kind of going on with Sansa ruling Winterfell and what she's going to do because there's so much room for betrayal now. Like, there's so much, and when Jon gave Sansa, I get it. Like, there should be a Stark in charge of Winterfell in the North. I get that. At the same time, like, you pick Sansa.
Sansa.
Let's go see if Arya's
Dire
still alive.
Wolves would still be alive if it wasn't for Sansa.
It's true. So,
what about Will? Does this change anything for you, or I mean, what did you think about the episode overall?
This is like I talked about it before. They slap Khaleesi in the face, and then they give her another kingdom. Of red carpet to a kingdom. So this is a slap in the face. So Dorne and the Greyjoys going down. That's big. That's major. Oh, the ships. Oh, no. And then here comes Jon Snow. They'll have a little bickering. And I'm saying it sarcastically, but I'm enjoying every bit of it. They'll come and they'll have like the little scuffle, but they're both, lawful, good people. And it may take 2-3 episodes. And then they'll come to an agreement. And everything will be fine, and they'll fight on each other's side. But they have to have this. Like, even with all this happening, it has still been extremely easy for Khaleesi, and it's a more beautiful way with all the death and destruction. Unlike Cersei, it's been easy for her to get to the throne, but it's been a lot of gross stuff along the way. Death and destruction, but she's been so evil along the way that she's kind of lost herself. Like, she's not even the same person. Like, her hair hasn't grown back. Maybe she'll just keep her hair short because it's been a little bit, or has it? Or all that was kind of quick.
Yeah, no, it's been season and a half.
Yeah, and her hair's still short. Like, is that just a badge of what she's been through that she's just wearing? So I don't know, but I do appreciate them trying to make it seem like it's a hard road for Khaleesi. Even though it would have been hard, like if the Unsullied, who she's been with in the Dothraki, would have went down, that would have been a bigger, more heartfelt loss for her because she's,
Well, she doesn't have loyalty to, like, really to the Dornish or...
the Greyjoys.
The Greyjoys.
That was a fake allegiance anyways, because they really just hate Cersei.
Tyrells. Like, she really doesn't. Like, and that's why she called them, because they have the hate for Cersei.
You know what I just caught right there? Who does she have a good heart-to-heart with that didn't lose anybody in this episode?
Tyrell.
Exactly.
And then she was talking about, you're a dragon, be a dragon.
Yeah. And she lost her son and Marjorie and her daughter, but she's always 2-3 steps ahead of everyone.
Absolutely.
She's very wise.
And she even makes the comment about Tyrion. She goes, he's wise and he says things slick kind of deal. And she goes, I've outlived lots of men who are good with words. And you know why? Because I was who I am. And that's when
Well, she says like she's like, you know, men do a lot of talking, and I've survived this long by not listening to them.
Exactly, and, and she tells Daenerys that, and so planting a little seed there. Like I don't know.
That's true.
How
though.
shakeable.
You think of that that explosion in the Capitol and all the stuff that went down. And,
well, she was already back at Highgarden.
Yeah, and like talking to the Scepter. She talked to the High Scepter pretty tough too.
The High Sparrow.
High Sparrow, excuse me. The Scepter. Like that stuff, I knew that was going to backfire. Like when she brought the religion thing into it, but that's another show. I think you're ready to wrap this one up. We're going to have to go back through the season recaps when the season is over. Like season 1, 2, 3, and 4. For sure,
because before we know it, that 7th episode, it'll be out of here, and we'll have to definitely go back and do a recap, and then we'll have to go back and when winter has finally come, we'll have to do something to prepare for next season. So yeah, I mean, I guess that just about does it for Stormborn. I mean, any final thoughts, guys, before we get out of here?
No, I think we covered most of everything, and I'm just kind of sitting tight and seeing what Sunday brings us.
Yeah, it's certainly a good time to be alive when all
right, Drake.
When when we have we can go to the movies and see things like Dunkirk and it's just, and then we've got things like this on TV. Like it's just so hard to divert your attention from anything other than a screen these days. But it's that's not a bad thing. So I appreciate you guys taking the time to be on the podcast. Garrett, as always, thank you. You're a wealth of knowledge, sir.
I try to do what I can, man.
Exactly. And Will, appreciate you taking the time. What do you guys over at Powers Not Included? A new episode just came up just about a day or so ago.
Yeah.
And you guys, that was mostly Dark Days, The Forge, right?
Yeah, Dark Days, The Forge, Dark Days, The Casting, and Secret Empire number 6.
For some reason, I thought The Forge was what the whole thing was called. It's just Dark Days.
Yeah, Dark Days.
I still haven't gotten a chance to read any of it yet.
It's all right. I'll loan you mine for $5 an hour.
I have it. I just haven't gotten a chance to read it yet.
It's all right. You read it. You come on and talk to us.
Yeah. So yeah, that and Secret Empire. That's kind of what's going on both sides of the spectrum there.
Yes, Bruce Banner is back. That's all you need to know about for Secret Empire.
Okay.
It's pretty exciting.
Well, like I said, thanks so much, guys, for checking out the podcast. For Will and for Garrett, I'm Duncan. Check me out online at Grind City Geek, and we will see you next week. Bye.
Bye.